Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, my YouTube friends. Come on in tonight and let's chat about weight loss plateaus and how do we fix it. Also, talking about, switching to metabolic, um, you know, adjustments and also by the Recomp. Come on in, my YouTube friends. Not sure how many people out there are on a plateau or in a plateau. And maybe a little concerned about it. Just trying to understand what a plateau is, just trying to figure out, is the body at a set point now, a new set point, or what have you. Let's talk about it tonight. Hello, hello. How you doing, sweetheart? Not hi, Kim. Hello, Al. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in. Hope you're doing well. It's going well for me. Look, as well as gonna get. Had some issues with my computer today, my camera today. Lost all my stuff trying to recover my videos and all that good stuff. So yeah, what's next, honey? Talk about resilience. Yeah, that's where I'm at today. Still pushing forward, Still pushing forward. I hope you're doing well tonight. I just want to talk about, there are people that are, on a weight loss journey within the Sweet Life Squad, and just want to, talk a little bit about, at some point your body gets kind of going to like a mode where it's like, okay, are you starving me? And so with that being said, it fights you quite often, and it's like, okay, I don't want to go any further down. And so we tend to go into stalls and tend to go into plateaus sometimes at some point, because the stalls are, a bit smaller, times where you cannot lose that much weight. And then you go into plateaus, and the plateaus last a little longer. And there are certain points in your journey where, depending on how long you have to do, be in your weight loss phase, you may end up being in a stall or a plateau. And some people actually discover where they actually are in several different stalls or several different plateaus, depending on how much weight you're planning on losing. And so I want to talk a little bit about that tonight. And then, just talk about body recomp. And instead of being like staying in a calorie deficit, maybe you have to go into metabolic switching instead. Okay. That's what I'm here to talk about tonight. Hello, sweetheart. All right. Nicole says hello to everyone. How are you doing, Nicole? Everything is good. Awesome. 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 Yep. For me, yeah, I'm getting there. I wanted to cry earlier. I did. When all my stuff came off my SD card, off my DJI, yes, I want to share a tear or a few. But I found a recovery app. And so we're going to see if that works. When I tried it, it was saying it was going to charge me, I had to pay for the app, pay for the recovery of the file. So we shall see how it goes. Hello, Motivated to Soar. How you doing? I'm good. Good, good, good. How are you doing? Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming in. I'm okay. I'm okay, Nicole. Look, no need to complain. All right, Felicia, how are you doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. I'm a little sad, but I'm okay. Only because I lost my stuff, my videos and pictures on my camera. I done hit some button. I don't know what I'm half know what I'm doing. And honey, I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? But it's gonna be all right. And it's a video I need to get out like tonight to to collab with somebody, and I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm gonna have to redo this video. Oh my goodness. So yeah, that's my issue tonight. Hello, Elle. How you doing? Shouts out to you, Fifi the Bee. I know that's right, Al. All right. Oh, you right. You heard me, D. Oh my goodness. Oh, fully. Right, Nicole. Ugh. But I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be a big girl. Elle says, "What kind of camera?" It's a DJI Pocket 3. And my phone already don't have no storage on it, so it's just like, oh my god. So I've been using that, my DJI, which is supposed to be better anyway, right? And yeah, I don't know what I did. I don't know what I hit, but whatever button it was the wrong one. So yeah, you can do a card recovery to try to recover the files. Yeah, I did find some kind of I looked at, for a YouTube video, and it told me to use, what is this thing? Hold on. It's called Disc Drill. But I guess because it's trying to recover, I don't know what it's trying to recover. I guess everything I've ever, did on the DJI. And yeah, it's like, oh, this is 100 gigs you've used. So if you use over so many gigs, then you have to pay for it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to figure something else out. Now, some things are, I do have saved in my computer, so I don't need everything. I was going to try to, like recover everything, but, I'm going to have to figure something out to make it work for me. At least, like I said, my collab video I need, if nothing else, that I need to send to the people for them to, go ahead and say, okay, so I can move forward with that. Those things are like time sensitive. So, Al says, I want to know how resilient Kim is. Those very frustrated on the inside. Correct. She still keeps smiling on her face on the outside. Talk about strong. Thank you so much, Al. Thank you. I was talking to Tamika, and she wouldn't let me cry, y'all. I went to boo-hoo. She like, no, you have a live, interview. You cannot do all that crying. No, stop. Get it together. Mm-hmm. Felicia, it's all good. It was the usual shenanigans, and Kim did not miss nothing. But I appreciate y'all regardless. Thank you. I was over to my sister's house. We had like a little family outing, over there rather. Yep. So that's why I didn't come in, Al. But I'll look at the replay. I did see your post though, so I'm happy everything went well. This is your 10th live, and yes, you are doing great over there. Yes, use this drill. Okay, awesome, L. Thanks for that. Sorry, Kim. Right, see how Felicia, she feels my heart. Look, she feels everything that I'm going through inside right now. I'm trying to help you as best as I can, Rico. Thank you, assistant. Hello, Cal. How you doing? Yep. Thank you, Sweet Life Squad, for trying to cheer your girl up. I greatly appreciate it. Anyway. Okay. I got to get through it. My sister told me I got to get through it. So I got to get through it. Like I said, look, it's nothing. Look, I always got something going on, honey. Look, life be life all the time, right? So, hey, I'll get over it. I'll get it together. So let me get into my little thing, honey. I want to talk a little bit about plateaus. You know how a lot of times when we're on a weight loss journey, which a lot of us have been on it or still in the midst of trying to, lose some weight, or maybe they're in maintenance at this point. But at some point when they were trying to lose weight, they may have, encountered a plateau or even a stall, which is a smaller plateau. And when I say plateau, I'm talking about, when there's a period of time where there's no change in your weight. Okay. And I know oftentimes people talk about plateau and don't know exactly what it is, like how long can it last. And as I was researching about it, it was saying, normal, a lot of times when you're in your 12 month to 18th month, somewhere around there, you may end up coming, or being in a plateau, right? And so it's normal to, you know, get at another set point in life when it comes to plateaus, and that's okay. You just have to find a way to get out of it, okay? If you want to continue to lose weight. So I'm in a plateau right now. Reason being several different things. I've talked a little bit about it, but I'm just trying to figure out how to get it out of it, how to break it, right? And so, of course, you have to do some tweaking to try to figure out, what's going to be best for you. All right. Of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a nutritionist. None of that. Of course, I have no degrees in health, but I'm just sharing my journey with you all and let you know the things that I, may embark upon so that I can, continue to live my sweet, healthy life, right? Continue to keep the smile on my face regardless of what I'm going through. That's resilience. And so, and not get too down on it. Or, of course, you're going to have moments where you may get down, but you don't want to stay there. So I push through it. I push towards that mark because I know, all things are going to work together for my good. And even though I may go through some things. So, yeah, so I want to talk about that tonight. And then just talking about body recomp. So, I've researched up on, if you're in a plateau, what can you do about it? And of course, a lot of times we are in a calorie restriction when we are, trying to lose weight. But there's times where you don't need to be in that, so restricted. And so therefore you need to, like I said, if you get in that stall phase or that plateau phase, then, you may want to up your calories a little bit and maybe go back into like maybe a little less than a maintenance phase, and then do body recomp. Okay. And when we talk body recomp, we're saying, we want to we're talking about, trying to lose the fat. Okay. And then you want to build muscle. All right. And of course, when you build muscle, a lot of times, you may end up on that scale, it may go up a little bit, which is okay because you know what you're doing. You put your effort into, making sure that you're stronger. Okay. And you all know that I've showed you all several times about, like my arm fat. So I still, because I'm an apple shaped body, my figure is apple shaped naturally. I have, even though I've lost, so much weight, I lost 76 pounds in a year. But I did gain a little bit of weight because of the things I had to do as far as my, sugar is concerned, my A1C. I was having hypoglycemic episodes, which it means that I was having low sugars. And so I had to up my sugars a lot, up my carbs a lot in order to get out of, not to minimize those hypoglycemic episodes or the low sugars, which is, you know, um, when I check my blood glucose, it's under 70 deciliters, and that's not good. So therefore, I had to do something about it. Up my carbs, because the more carbs you get, of course, you won't drop, especially if you're getting the right type of carbs. So what they call complex carbs, those are carbs that are not easily digested in your body. Also, what I had to do, and I've done all of my journey, is I made sure that I ate, my fiber first, which is the veggies and green leafy veggies. I eat my protein, and then make sure I'm in a high protein diet and a high fiber diet. And then I also was on low carb. Well, in this phase um, of my journey, I had to, like I said, up my carbs because of those low sugars. And so with that, I also had to lower my dose of Mounjaro, and I went to a 5 from a 7.5. Um, and so that kind of hurt me a little bit in the aspect of weight loss, but it helped me, to a certain extent within the aspect of making sure that my blood glucose was okay. Okay, my blood sugars were okay and not in a danger zone. All right. So with that being said, it brought on inflammation. It brought on some hormonal changes, imbalances, and everything even more, okay, with the vengeance. And so that's why I had to, I decided to get on hormone replacement therapy, medication, or HRTs, so that I can kind of balance those hormones out. I went down, like I said, to a 5 milligram dose of Mounjaro to help me, balance those sugars out. I upped my carbs to help me balance the sugars, my glucose out. And yeah, like I said, it took a little toll. And so I actually gained some weight. I gained about 17 pounds. So where I was the lowest weight at 177, I'm back to in the 190s. Okay. And I just crept up a little bit here and there, and it's been, I think I was 177 in July of 2024. And then I kind of held steady at the higher range of the 170s, went into the 180s, stayed there for a while, went to the 190s by December 31st of 2025, like the lower 190s, and then went back down, and I would kind of yo-yo back and forth in the high 180s to mid 190s. And now I'm in that 190 range, and it seemed like you don't want to come, get out of there. So with that being said, again, at this point, I'm in this plateau, and I'm like, okay, so what do I need to do? Okay. I know panicking is not the answer, right? Because I can say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go on some kind of, crazy restrictive diet, and try to fix it, right? So that I can lose this weight. Well, again, a lot of the things that I could do when it comes to diet, it requires me to eat lower carbs. And that's not going to be, that won't work for me, okay, at this stage in my life. So I need to make sure I'm having enough carbs. So y'all know I always say low carb, when actually I really probably need to be moderate carbs at this point instead of low carb. And at one point I was kind of scared to say it on camera, because I know, yes, I'm the lady that I was at a 15.1 A1C when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And then I was able to get my A1C back down to 5.6. So I'm like, yay, everybody's like, great, miracle girl, whatever. Right. And then that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Why am I now having so that when you have high sugars and your A1C is up too high, then that's hyperglycemia. That's, you have that issue where your glucose is too high most of the time. And so when I went from the hyperglycemia to hypoglycemia, I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are gonna think, what is this girl going through, right? And so I was kind of like, ooh, I need to figure this out before I say anything to, the people about it. And so I talked a little bit about it here and there, but like I said, I just had to figure something out. And so this is what it is. I need to be more at a low to moderate carb is fine for me. And when it comes to carbs, anything under 150 is considered low carb. Of course, you can go extremely low, but like, especially if you're doing like a keto or something like that, or, some people do 50 carbs, which is kind of what I was doing when I first started to get my sugars down. So it won't be hyperglycemia. And, but then because I did so well and I kind of overcorrected, my issue of, having the high sugars, which is great because I needed to do that. At one point I was like, oh my gosh, did I do it too fast? But when it comes to having high sugars, you really have to be careful because like we talked about, in many lives, that you can have issues with different organs. It can affect your organs having, an A1C of, over 6.5 or 6.4 rather. So 6.5 and up, that lets you know that you have, type 2 diabetes, I should say. And I have type 2 diabetes. So when I talk about diabetes, more than likely I'm talking about type 2. Okay. With that being said, when I started having these low glycemic episodes, and it has kept going, so long. I'm like, what am I going to do? How do I tell the people this? You know, are they going to look at me a certain way? Do I look like I just don't know what I'm doing? What have you? But when I researched about it, it was like, hey, it's not that, you have done such a great job that now, your medicines may need to change. You may need to switch medicine doses. You're definitely more insulin sensitive. You're definitely more insulin sensitive. You're not as insulin resistant as you once was, which most people that have like have diabetes type 2, they're very insulin resistant, and especially depending on how high your A1C is. So, you know, Kim J, that's not your issue, right? So it's nothing to be ashamed of. This is not a perfection type thing, because no one is perfect that walks this earth besides Jesus. So with that being said, it's okay. Tell your story. This is a part of your journey. So it's all right. So again, I start telling a little bit here and there. And like I said, now I'm in this plateau, and I'm like, okay, so what do I do? Biggest thing for me is, and just encourage you all, don't get, weary and well doing. You have to, just continue to look and find out, research and find out what can you do to kind of help your situation, whatever situation you're in, and try to be content in that situation. Meaning, even though there are negative thoughts that are going to come, you want to make sure that you try not to, dwell in those thoughts of negativity. Find your way to still keep a smile on your face, even though you're going through the things that you're going through. And so I noticed that a lot of people have been saying they're in stalls or they're in plateaus. So that's why I want to talk about it a little bit tonight and kind of share with you what I had, found, so curious to Kim here when it comes to, plateaus, trying to break the plateaus and things of that nature. Let me go in here and see who's have come in the chat. Hello, Nichols Journey. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in. Greatly appreciate it. You're doing okay, Cal? Awesome. Oh, just tired from a long weekend. All right, get you some rest now. All right, you and me both, Kim J. I feel you on that for sure. Thank you. Hello, Z. How you doing? Thanks for coming in. All right, you're at work? Yes. Thanks for coming in to say hello to everyone, Z. Nicole says, how are you doing, Felicia? She's doing great. Great. Hello, Miss Jolene. How are you doing? You're in the bushes, not feeling well on an antibiotic. Just want to send some love. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. I was going to, get back with you a little later tonight, check on you. Hope you're doing well. Better than what you were, last night. All right. You're going back to bed. Okay, cool. So make sure, give me a call when you wake up. Hello, Grace. How you doing? Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. You okay? Yes. All right. Felicia Marie B says, I've been in a calorie deficit for 17 months, and I'm definitely looking into eating at maintenance calories just to give my body a break from dieting. Yes. Your body definitely needs a break after so long, especially if it's been a long months and months. You definitely I've seen, my research states that it's not recommended to be in a calorie deficit, but so many months at a time. So I do understand that. And then also, I know I've talked to you all about sagging skin, especially, in my arm area, and I've showed you all this, this is a lot of sagginess. It's a lot of, moving around. And at one point, I think I started feeling like body dysmorphia because of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I look so skinny. When I was at 177, I felt very, very small. But these arms felt very, very gigantic. And so it had me feel a certain way. And I had to pray about it. I'm like, Lord, I do not want body dysmorphia, God. I want to lose this weight. But I've always told you all, I don't want to be real skinny. I want to be thick, fine. Okay, that's what I want to be. And so, with that being said, I want some weight on my bones, right? I want some meat on my bones. And I'm not a little bit of fat. I just don't want, I don't want to be skinny. I don't. Um, I want to, be curvy. Yeah, that's what I want to be. So, with that being said, I got to figure out this here. Now, I know a lot of people say, okay, some things you have to do, you may have to get surgery for it. It may not be a cure for it. You may not be able to, exercise and exercise it off, or make that skin, retract all the way back. Especially with me being the age that I'm 52 years old. So with age, sometimes the elasticity in your skin doesn't snatch back like if you were in your 20s, So that's the unfortunate thing that we have to deal with, some of us, right? And this is not a one size type of situation, one for all for one. Let me put this up. I don't like that one. Yeah. So, just realizing that, I have to figure something out, right? Because when I do go slim back down, because I know I'm going to slim back down, but when I do slim back down, I do not want to feel that way I felt, last year in February and March. Okay. And so, with that being said, I decided that I want to do about a recomp. Since I'm in this plateau, I might as well make the best of it, right? And so, so I can have something to think about besides just weight loss, just that scale. Okay, we get into a situation where we'll, if we think about the scale so much, or always getting on the scale, it makes us feel it kind of makes us feel a certain way, and then you're overly emphasizing the number on the scale versus, or overly focusing on the number on the scale versus, just kind of chilling out and just letting, things fall where they lie. Okay. And so with that being said, I'm like, this is a great time for body recomp. And so that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm in the middle of it. All right, let me jump in this chat and figure out where I'm at because I have lost my place. Okay, let's see. So yes, I'm with you on that, Miss Felicia Marie B. All right, Miss Nicole said feel better, as well as Felicia Marie B, Miss Jolene. Hello, Sunita. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Good evening, Miss Linda McDuffie. How are you doing, sweetheart? Thanks for coming in. Hope everybody's had a joyous day. She says, let's see. D says, it really is okay. Perfectly flawed. Yes, thank you for that. Motivated to soar. Y'all hear, we can be perfectly flawed, right? It's okay for that. We have to allow ourselves to be that, right? And not live in perfection, trying to be, perfect when we're never going to be perfect on this earth. And that's a hard pill for me to swallow because I do strive for perfection. And for some reason, I live in perfectionism. And so I'm trying to, get my way, move my way out of that because I'm like, hey, I understand that we're not going to be perfect ever. We may do things in excellence, but we don't have to be perfect. Okay. So, and that's fine. All right. So Anissa says, listening while cleaning. Thank you, Anissa. Thanks for coming in. Greatly appreciate it. Hello, Doses of Shiny. How are you doing? Sorry. Okay, fine, Nicole. Trying to go through this chat. Hello, Darium. How you doing? Thanks for coming in. You're in those bushes, the cloudy ones. Okay. Peeking in quietly. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for being in the bushes. Y'all make sure y'all thank you, honey. Hit that like button. I was about to say that. Hit the like button. If you have not, please do so. I greatly appreciate it. If you have not subscribed, please do so. I greatly appreciate it. Darren says, and no one is looking at Kim J to be perfect, have the perfect health journey, and not able to share reality where the body does as it does, and that's normal. You are right about it. You are so right about it. Yes. Okay. Hello, Jen F. How you doing? Thanks for coming in. She's driving into work. Everyone. Yes. Hello, Paula. How you doing? Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. I hope you're doing well. If you're working on Body Recomp, Kim J, I'm currently working on Mindset Recomp. All right. Good, good, good. Normalizing ups and downs. Yes. Look, Darium, that messy middle, right? The messy middle. Y'all go check Darium out. He has some great things on Substack. You know, I like shouting you out every now and again because it's some good stuff over there, y'all. It's some good stuff. Go check him out. Go check him out. And he can help us with this messy middle, y'all. Yes. All right. So yeah, so like I said, when it comes to the plateau, you definitely got to find a way to get out of it. And it may be there for a while, and that's fine too. But what are we going to do to try to alleviate the heartache that it can bring, right? That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Okay, and want to make sure that I encourage you in this effort as well. Because like I said, I know I've heard a lot of people talk about being in stalls and plateaus. So it's something to talk about. It's something to try to work out. And why not work it out together? You know, to try to figure it out. I remember Miss Alonda. I think she was in a plateau for like, I think 16 months, you know, Alonda 180. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 16 months. And so she found her way out of it, you know, and I'm happy about that. So now she's, you know, doing good in the one like 80s now. And so I'm happy about that for her. So, you know, I'm not sure if anyone here is in a plateau. Let me know in the comment section if you are. If you're in the bushes and you are currently in a plateau or a stall, let me know, you know, as well in the comments. Come in the comments. You don't have to stay in there if you don't want to, but yes, come on in, let us know. Or have you ever been in there? If you did, let us know in the comments what you did to try to get out of or to successfully get out of the stall or plateau. Greatly appreciate that. I remember on Sugar Talks last week, episode 2, when I was talking to Miss Paula, she talked a little bit about plateaus and letting us know that it's okay. It's a normal process, a normal part of our journey. If we just, you know, if for some reason, and most of us, especially if you have a lot of weight to lose, that you will one day, you know, hit that, you know, that section within your journey. And then also thinking about when it comes to journey, a journey is a long time. Okay. And if you think about, you know, being on a weight loss journey right now, being on a better health journey, you know, and weight loss is definitely a goal, or, you know, making sure that you have better health, you know, that's a goal. It may take some time, and we need to allow ourselves to be okay with it. Okay. And so therefore, you know, so we have to, you know, kind of put our big girl panties on, or, you know, big boy underwears on, and, you know, be content in it, you know, but still trying to find ways to push forward. All right. So, like I said, with that being said, sometimes you have to just tweak something, figure out what you can do so that you won't feel the negativity from it, you know, or get even, you know, depressed. Some people may get depressed from it and just start trying, just finding any and everything to do that sometimes may not even be healthy for us, you know, and you don't want to get to that point, you know. And then when you think about it like that, then you're talking diet culture again, right? And we try not to, you know, get into that slump anymore of being in diet culture. You know, we want this particular time on our better health journey to actually be the last time that we have to go through, you know, these things, and that we can become better at health, you know, and hopefully live that long life and live that long health span as well, right? So, if the scale for some reason has not moved in weeks or months, right, and you're doing all the things you need to do that's right, then, you know, hopefully this message is for you and you can get something from it. Of course, everybody is different. You know, if it's something that you hear me talk about, even if you have not been in a stall or plateau yet, you may go in that, get into that section at some point. Or and if you do, then this still may be for you. That's what's great about YouTube. You can always come back to this message if it doesn't resonate with you right now. Okay. And of course, you always need to make sure you're talking to your doctors, and your healthcare team about what you need to do. But I will give you some things that, research states that may help you. Okay. And just me on my personal journey, what, may help me. That's what I try to do, for you on these Tuesday Night Lives. All right. So when it comes to, stalls, plateaus, things like that, understand that once you get to that point, and like I said, almost everybody gets to that, you have to realize that it's not like your body is broken or anything. It's not like, oh my God, it's the end of the world, or what have you, or that's end of your weight loss journey. Sometimes, it's a set point, your body reached a set point and it's like, okay, let's stop for right now because I don't know what's going on with you. I don't know if you're stuck in a, say, tractor trailer, what is it called? The 18-wheeler. Somebody got you in an 18-wheeler stuck and you can't get out. Somebody has kidnapped you. Who knows? They don't, your body don't know what's going on. It just knows that it's doing something different than we're used to, it's used to us doing to it. And so therefore you may end up being in that stall or that plateau. So your body is trying to adapt to this new life, that we have provided it. And it wants to make sure that, we're not in survival mode or starvation mode or any of that. Right. So sometimes that's where that, that stall comes or that plateau comes. And so what do we do about it? Now, did you know some people call, if you're on a GLP-1, they call it a skinny pin. I've never heard of that before, but yes, I was looking at my inspirations, in YouTube studio, and that was one of the topics. It was like, that it called, some people call a GLP-1 medication the skinny pin. And that's because we're losing some weight, right? And a lot of people have gotten much smaller, but before that, we have to remember this medication was first provided to those who had diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and to help them, better manage their diabetes. And then they found out that it could also help with weight loss and so many other things. So as they, continue to research, it's so many things that it can help you with. And so, if you can get on one, and your doctor is okay with it, then you do what you got to do, right? And like I said, don't be shamed about it, you deciding that you need to get on it, okay? Don't let anybody shame you out of it, of becoming better at health. I heard people, some people say, when I was bigger, nobody had anything to say, or they may have said, oh, why, how much bigger are you going to get? But then when you start losing the weight, then it's like, well, how much weight you going to lose? Don't lose too much weight. And it's like, so what do you want me to do? You tell me your plan. And then I'm going to debunk all of it, because guess what? This is about my life. It's about me versus me, and so, you have to know how to ignore those people, right? And do what you need to do for yourself to better your health. Okay. So, when you're in this plateau, you don't want to panic, and a lot of times we do, because that's just, it builds anxiety, because you're like, I've been trying to lose this weight. I've either been losing it very good and now it's slowing down and now it's nothing, or it's been taking me forever to lose it. And I hear all these other people saying they've lost 100 pounds, 70 pounds, 50 pounds, and while I'm at 20 pounds or 30 pounds or no pound, no weight loss. What's that about? And so it gets you discouraged sometimes if you stay in that, that thought of negativity. So it makes you, have some anxiety, which you have to make sure that you're finding any way out of that anxiety, because you don't want it to turn into, a depression, which it can, So with that being said, what can we do? We need to pivot. We need to figure something out. We need to, find something besides a scale to focus on, which is what I was saying earlier. So metabolic switching may be it. Being able to switch to something different, besides, just lower calories or very, very small meals. Okay. One thing you can do too is body recomp, like I said, which is the area I'm in. I also like what Darren said, mindset recomp, right? You want, and that's huge. We want to make sure that our mindset is conducive to what we're actually trying to do, okay, for a long-term gain, right? And so the way we do that is that we will make sure that one way we do it is that when the negativity try to creep in, you push it out of there as quick as possible. And that's going to help you in the long run. Of course, I'm a person of faith, so I'm going to pray to my God and I'm going to let him know what I'm going through. And I'm going to, pull from his strength, because when I'm weak, he's strong. So I can be strong in him. Okay. And like I said, I just have to keep moving forward. I have to find things that I can do to help me with this effort to continue to, become better at health. All right. Because the scale is only one thing. Yes, we want to get, we want that scale to go down. Yes, of course, to our ideal weight, not their ideal weight, but our ideal weight. But we still have to make sure that if for some reason that scale is not moving, what are we going to do? And we have to think about it. Sometimes we have to soul search. Sometimes you have to get in that mirror and like, listen, I know what's right and what's wrong, and I know I can research myself and I can ask my doctor and I can ask my, dietitian. I can get on YouTube or social media platforms and see what other people have done. But the thing is not soaking in, misery, or what have you. And even trying to find somebody else that's just as miserable. And now, because misery loves company, right? And so then you can't get out of it. You want to make sure you're finding somebody that has positivity and be able to encourage you to continue on with your journey. Okay. And so we want to make sure that we, are doing all the things. When it comes to all the things, when people say that, we're talking making sure that we're eating, better nutrition. We're getting better nutrition in, our bodies. Of course, whole foods are, it's pretty much the best regimen, unless you have a situation when you can't do whole foods. Of course, that would be something that your doctor and your dietitian have to tell you. But whole foods, of course, anything grown from the earth is definitely medicine for our bodies. Okay. It's in the word of God, so that's best. But if for some reason you have to, get in some processed foods, try not to do, ultra processed foods. So if you're on an ultra processed food, diet, regimen, then you try to kind of push your way up to, at some point you can get to, introducing little things by little things here and there to get to maybe it's just a processed diet. And then as you tweak things, then you get to that maybe whole food diet, like 70, what is it? 70-30, so 70% healthy whole foods, 30%, the processed foods and things like that. That's how you can do that. And that'll help you out a lot when it comes to making sure you're eating a better nutrition. Also, movement is very important. I can't stress that enough. You want to move your body however you have to do it, whether you're walking. A lot of walking is very, very underrated, but very, very good for us, especially if you can get in that zone too, where you can, you're walking and your heart is pumping a little bit kind of fast, but you're able to kind of talk a little bit, but not too winded. You can hold a little conversation, but it's still, you can, hear that breath, you're breathing hard. That's, I guess, the best way I can explain it. That zone too. And if you have a health app on your phone, or if you have a watch, a smart watch, it can kind of tell you when you're in that zone 2 mode, but that's one of a good zone to be in so that you can get the best benefit. Also, people use like when they're walking to give them some weight. They'll put that weighted vest on, and that kind of helps you as well. Get the maximize the benefit of walking. But walking definitely helps. You don't have to have a weighted vest. You don't have to wear, weighted ankle weights or wrist weights. You don't have to do that. You can just walk. And walking in nature is very good because it helps you with the you know getting the vitamin D in, especially during the spring and summertime, depending on what area you live in. um Definitely summertime for pretty much everyone. And so that will help you with the vitamin D. It just helps you mentally, help you with that mind shift, and help you with that mind reset, recomp, and things of that nature. But just having that mindset recomp is very good for us all. Okay. uh Also, making sure you're getting enough sleep in. Sleep is very important. Trying to get your 7 to 9 hours of sleep in, that helps out a whole lot. I know Miss Jarlene was saying, one of our lives recently, she was saying, when she started sleeping more, getting that sleep in, that helped her, just drop some weight. And so that made her excited. Didn't maybe not have realized that was key. That was something that could really help her. We hear it, but until we really live it, sometimes some people have to experience it. And when they experience it, it's like, oh my gosh, now I know what they're talking about. Now I understand, or what have you. So making sure you're feeling your body, making sure you get your movement in, and you can also weight lift, right? And that's where that body recomp come in, lifting those weights. Like I said, burning that fat, and increasing that, your muscles, making sure you're retaining the muscle that you already have, and making sure that you're, even building upon the muscle. So like with my arms that I have, my flabbiness, I'm trying to figure out how I can get that, try to reduce that. And if for some reason I can't reduce it, the fat from it as much as I want to, or if I reduce the fat from it and then it starts sagging to where it's just skin, then I may have to have surgery, and I have to get my mind set for that if I decide to do that. But not only that, I have to, I can also be in a progressive overload, and that can help me, build that muscle, and it'll, stretch out, it'll make my arms look less saggy, I should say. That's the best way I can say it. And so therefore that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to do all the things, like I said, so that I can maximize on my better health journey. So yes, just knowing that you're not stuck, in this plateau. You don't have to be in it forever. You may have to be in it for a specific time, but you may not have to be in it and you won't have to be in it forever. I should say you will not have to be in it forever. Your body has to adapt to what we're doing with it, and then at some point it's going to say, you know what, it's okay to continue losing, and then it'll allow you to lose more. Okay, so you don't want to, like I said, eat less. Eating less is not the answer to lose the weight. Once you get to a certain amount or time in your journey, you have to realize that you need to fuel your body, use in a smart way. Okay. And like I said, build that muscle, and then that way you can burn that fat off you. And that helps as well. If you can lose inches, I know you've heard of losing inches. Sometimes losing inches is better than losing weight. It's better than that scale. That's why we want to focus on those non-scale victories, especially during this time of stalls and plateaus. Okay. So yes, that is, that will help a lot, doing the things that you need to do to make sure that you can, maximize on it all. Refocusing yourself from that scale and making sure that you are, focusing on other things that you can do within your journey, so that it won't feel so bad that the scale is not going down. Okay. So when it comes to metabolic switching, What that means is, um, when you stop keeping your body at that, doing that same routine that you've done, like, Felicia said, 17 months she's been in calorie deficit. So if for some reason she becomes, in that point where she's in a stall, she can switch that routine up. As a matter of fact, she can really switch it up before she becomes, get in that stall. So maybe she won't go in that stall, ever go into a stall before she gets to her maintenance weight. And then, you can start cycling how you eat, eat, like I said, for fuel, to fuel your body. That helps a lot, instead of, being in that calorie deficit. All right. Because if you're in a low calorie deficit for too long, then your body gets comfortable in that deficit. And so that's why it stops, that scale stop moving downward. All right. Let me just go in this chat real quick. I appreciate the support, Kim J. You're welcome, Darian. All right, Darian says, I was in the bushes, but didn't. Did you define plateau, stall, and body plan catch up? Hold on. Let me see. I did talk a little bit about the plateau, and I'm going to go ahead and do a Curious with Kim one for a moment, and let's go into this plateau. I'm going to just define it, let you know what it actually says. Hold on. Instead of it being in my words. Just a moment here. What was the other body plan catch up? Okay. Oh, Lord. Hold on. All right. So when it comes to a stall, and this is from the Mayo Clinic information and some other places, but when it comes to a stall, we're talking short term or temporary. Okay. That's a stall. The plateau is a little long term. Okay. A little bit longer so you have stalls that could be within plateaus. All right. So a stall is a temporary, short term, a short lived, a temporary halt, typically 1 to 3 weeks, where weight stays the same, often due to water retention, high salt intake, or stress. That's why we can become, get into the stall, a short-term temporary, stop in weight loss. Okay. And then plateau, that's more long-term. That's metabolic issues. All right. A sustained period, often defined as 3 to 4 weeks or more, where weight does not change despite maintaining a consistent calorie deficit and exercise routine. So you're in that calorie deficit, you're, doing, you're getting exercise in, but even though you're doing those things, for some reason, the scale is not moving. All right. And then, which is, like I said, all the things, you even getting sleep, you're doing everything that you possibly can, but that scale is still not moving. And that lasts, 3 to 4 weeks plus. Okay. And like I said, it can last for months in. Okay. All right. And then you have body catch up. That's recomposition. So a period where the scale is not moving, but body recomposition is changing. Okay. You are losing fat while simultaneously gaining or maintaining muscle. So that's the stall, that's a plateau, and that is body catch up. So a stall is a temporary pause. Again, it's often referred to as noise in data. Okay. Cause water retention, like I said before, from intense exercise or high sodium. That's where it can come from. It can come from stress. It can come from hormonal changes. Okay. like if you're, on your cycle, for women, or even you can be in menopause, that stage of menopause, some stage of menopause, where there's peri or post, um, or inaccurate tracking. That also can be an issue why you can solve if you're not tracking properly. So, of course, if you track, there's different ways that you can track your foods, what you're eating. You can, some people eyeball it, and they know, okay, they may have been on a diet for so long, for so many years, that they can look at the palm of their hand and say, okay, this is about 4 ounces of meat, because it's the meat, it can be sit in the palm of my hand, you know, or they can eyeball, all right, this is enough carbs. This is, a fourth a cup of carbs, you know, and they track like that. Some people, they weigh their foods on a scale, you know, and then some people weigh their food on a scale plus they use a tracking app. Some people only weigh carbs or track carbs. Some people only track protein. Some people track, both. So as well as your veggies. But tracking macros, which is your protein, it's your carbs, and it's your fats. You know, that's how apps normally, they have that information so you can track macros. And then it's up to you whether you actually track properly or you minimize the tracking, however you tailor it to your needs. But yes, if you're inaccurately tracking, because I can eyeball something and think it's one thing, but if I don't, measure on that scale or as well as put it in that tracker, then I may miss a couple of ounces, um, if I'm looking at a food. That's why, I know like some of the apps they have where you can actually take a picture of your meals. And when you do that, I feel like I'm like, how would they know exactly what's in that meal? Because you're looking at. So I have a plate of spaghetti, for instance, and they don't know what I put in my spaghetti. So if I take a picture of it, they know it's spaghetti, and they can come up with a roundabout figure, for my tracking purposes. But they don't know what I put in it. I may put some sugar in it, and does the app know that? I may decide to put, two different meats in it. Like I may put, say for instance, ground beef, and then I also put, ground sausage, or maybe I put sausage link in it and cut it up, and it doesn't see it on that diagram or that picture rather. And so how would it know that I put the other stuff in it, the added stuff? You don't know. So that's why I don't really like using it. I think it's good, I guess, to a certain extent, but for me, if I'm going to track, I want to track it all, So that's that. Um, so like I said, the duration of a stall can be 2 to 3 weeks normally, and then or it can be a few days. But then also the action for that stall is to stay consistent. Do not panic or drastically cut your calories, as it's likely temporary. Okay, a true plateau happens when your body has adapted to your new weight and lower calorie intake, meaning your energy expenditure now matches your energy intake. Okay, so your energy expenditure, how much you're, using for energy, and your energy intake. Okay, those things, they're matching. Okay, so how much fuel you're putting in your body. All right, so causes, as you lose weight, your body requires fewer calories to function. A smaller body burns fewer calories, causing the deficit to disappear. And then duration could be 3 to 4 weeks, up to 12 weeks, or it can be longer. Okay. Like we said, we know someone in our GLP-1 community that, was in a plateau for months. Okay. So action requires an adjustment, such as a modest reduction in calories. Okay. So like I said, you may have to go up closer to your maintenance level, your maintenance calories, still being a little reduction, but not as far as you were, restricting your calories like really, really low. All right. Increase activity or take a diet break to reverse metabolic adaptation. All right. That's the action you would take if you're in a plateau. And then body catch up or recomposition. This is a positive scenario, often called recomp or body recomp. The scale doesn't move, but your body is changing. You are building muscle. This is the cause of it. You're building muscle, which is dense, while losing fat. Signs that you're in body catch up mode: your clothes fit better, you look leaner, and your measurements, like waist circumference, are decreasing, even though weight remains the same. All right. Or it can even, like I said, get a little bit, you can be a little bit heavier, meaning your weight may have increased a little bit. All right. Action: continue training and eating high protein. Ignore the scale and focus on gradual or visual progress. I'm sorry. Gradual as well as visual progress. All right. So that's where we're at with that. And how to tell a difference: you measure other things. If your waist is shrinking, it's body catch up. Check consistency. If you haven't been tracking perfectly, it may be a stall. And then you want to wait it out. If it lasts more than a month with uh, perfect compliance, meaning you're doing all the things that you're supposed to do, that you know to do, it is a plateau, right? And then tips to break the plateau: prioritize protein. You want to increase satiety and metabolic rates. And then you can add resistance training. And that could be, you can use your body weight itself at first if you're not used to, strength training. You can use like cans of like vegetables or water bottles to, give you some weight besides your actual body weight. You can also, then go into lifting smaller weights like 2 pounders, 1 pounders, 2 pounders, 3 pounders of dumbbells. You can use resistant bands. That helps out a lot as well. And then you can, of course, go into progressive overload. All right. And then another thing you can do is increase non-exercise activity. That's your NEAT. Okay. So simply walking more can help bypass those stalls as well. All right. That's why I said walking is very important, and don't forget about it. If you don't feel comfortable strength training, walking definitely helps, and you can do just like I did when I first started this journey. And then I had to stop for a while, and then I started back with my walking. I was walking a little bit, just okay, I'm going to do it a few minutes. And then I got to 30 minutes, and then I got to an hour, then I can, do hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half, and so more. So now what I do is, because I started, I made my knee started hurting because I was walking so much outside on the pavement, and it's, can be uneven ground sometimes. So, that could help you at times, but also sometimes when you have knee injuries or you have, inflammation issues, that can, it can hurt too. So with that being said, you can take breaks. So do it in increments versus doing it all at one time. That's what you can do. And you can increase your number of steps, monthly, weekly, bi-weekly. Yeah, however you need to do it, or monthly. So yes, that would definitely help. And then even walking around the house, making sure that you're moving. So not just sitting down at the desk all day at work, or, sitting on the couch all night. You want to get up and start moving around here and there, and that will help. And that's what the NEAT is. And then you want to manage your stress. You don't want to stress out about everything. You want to try to make sure you don't stress out. Because high cortisol, we all know that it hinders the fat loss. So we have to be careful with that. And if for some reason you need, additional help with these things, you can always get a, like I said, a dietitian when it comes to nutrition. You can get, you can go to the gym, or you can get a trainer, a personal trainer to help you when it comes to resistance training or strength training. You can also, maybe get a therapist if you need to help you with the stress. If you don't know how to do, it on your own. If you know what you've done has failed you, that can help you as well. Or you can look at book, read books. You can do self-care days where you just getting all the hustle and bustle, all the things in life out of your mind, and just stop and think about, like you're zenning yourself, right? Meditation, reading God's word, studying his word, understanding his word, things like that. Those type things can help. It's other things, but those things definitely help. Also, like I said, making sure you get your water in. So that's that. All righty. Awesome workout, Shani. Yes, yes, she's doing her thing over there. Good evening, Darian. Grace says, let's see. Going down this list. Oh, thank you, Paula. Shout out to those who are riding the Plateau wave. This too shall pass. Thank you, Paula, for that, as well as a super chat. That is so true. It will pass. Sure will, Darian says. I know that's right. All right, Nicole says things that help me with switching things up because your body gets used to what you're doing. So I learned that you always gotta keep it guessing. Yes, I love that, Nicole. Keep your body guessing. Yes. So even with carb cycling, I know that helps. Some people carb cycle. It's a very good, diet or regimen that some people do. Where you say some days you eat more carbs than other days. That's what carb cycling is. And so you may want to do that. That can help people. Okay, so what are your tips, Nicole? Paula says. So Nicole says, I eat higher calories. The calorie cycling sometimes helps as well. You may want to eat, high calories one day and low calories another day. And you kind of, or, maybe high calorie 2 days and low calories 2 days. It's up to you. You have to figure out what's best for you. But Nicole says she just went higher in her calories for a few days, and that helped her out. I know some people also say they have this, they went and maybe they were eating so well that they say, you know what, I'm going to get a burger and fry. There's nothing wrong with eating a burger and fry every now and again. But they went to, a restaurant and they got a burger and fry, and just ate, with the mayo, with the ketchup, with the lettuce and tomatoes, with some fries, and everything. And then they jump back on their regular routine of eating healthy. And that helped them. So, that can help as well. So thank you for sharing that, Nicole. Greatly appreciate it. So Nicole says, Paula, changing up my exercise routine. Also, eating higher calories for a few days, changing up that exercise routine, and she fasted a day or two as well. That helped her as well. So yes, sometimes if you're not fasting, you can do intermittent fasting. That may help you. Some people do. They may decide I'm gonna, do a detox day, week or whatever, or 3 days or whatever. Some people go on a 24-hour fast, a 48-hour fast, a 36-hour fast. It helps with the autophagy, and it just helps your body, metabolically, so that you can hopefully jumpstart the stalls or the plateaus. The type of food you eat, that can help as well. Like you said, exercise routine can help. So thank you for that again, Nicole. So Paula says, I have increased my calories this week. I'm not in a plateau now. Awesome, awesome, awesome. That's great stuff. Darren says, congrats on figuring this out, Paula. Yes. Thank you, Darian. Congrats, Paula. Nicole says. All right. Nicole says, yep. Got to keep your body guessing. Seriously. Right. Seriously. All right. Felicia Marie B says, losing weight is incredibly stressful to the body. So it can cause some cortisol, right? Some bodies handle the stress better than others. And it's okay. Don't give up. Never give up. Never give up, right? Always find something to help you continue to move on in your journey. Thanks for that, Felicia. This journey is lifelong, right? And the community is here for support. Yes. Thank you for that, Felicia Marie B. All right. Sunita says, I've lost 85 pounds, but I see my skin is sagging. All right. So, Sunita, have you, thought of something that you could do to kind of help, alleviate the saggy skin? Are you okay with it? Are you, considering weight? Are you considering like surgery? Are you trying to just build the muscle so that, it won't look so saggy, the skin? What are you doing, sweetheart? If you don't mind sharing, it may help someone else. And that's why, like I said, sharing these things, on Tuesday nights so that we, have suggestions. You don't have to do it. You know, eat the meat, spit out the bones. Or hey, like Shawnee says, eat the fish, spit out the bones. Yes. What he says, take what you need and leave the rest. Yes. All of that is the same thing. So Nicole says, Sunita, I've lost 151 pounds. So I know about that loose skin, honey. It um it may retract some, but it takes a little bit. Okay. Unfortunately, that's what happens with big amounts of weight loss. Yes. And especially fast weight losses too. So if you're on a GLP-1 medication or you've done weight loss surgery, a lot of times you lose it much faster. Even on a keto diet, some people that are on a keto diet, they lose their weight so fast. But because they're eating very little carbs, sometimes they don't even have issues with the sagginess of the skin. I wish I can go on keto now. I probably rock it. With having this GLP-1 medication and keto, baby, baby, baby. Yes. But yeah, no keto for me, unfortunately. All right. It's Darian says, you all are doing so well. Congratulations on your progression. Thank you, Darian, for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome live stream. Thank you, Cal. Appreciate you. Nicole says, but it's a big reality to many of us on this journey. Yes. You think about it, once you get to a certain, state within your journey, and you really don't know how your body's going to look as you continue on in your journey, as you lose the weight, if you're on a weight loss journey, you really don't know that whether you're going to have saggy skin or not. You don't know, if you're going to go skinny, or if you're going to, be thick, fine. You really don't know, you don't know what part of your body is going to, go shrink first. You just don't know, So as you continue on in your journey, then that's where you start learning how your body's going to start, going down. And so then these things start coming up, and the devil wants you to hone in on that, the negativity. And we don't want to do that. We don't do that. And that's why it's so important. And why we, get into these lives and try to make sure that we encourage people. That's why I'm such big on, encouraging, myself as well as encouraging you. And oftentimes I'm encouraging myself when I do try to encourage you. This helps me as well as it hopefully helps you. So Sunita says, I will be glad if I can see a monthly. All right. Elle says, very useful information, Kim. Thank you so much, Elle. I greatly appreciate it. And appreciate you. Paula says, also changing up what you eat helps. Yes. I tend to eat the same things. Yes. That also, you're correct. Which, as was saying, sometimes, you may have been in such a low deficit, or you eating a certain amount of things all the time. Your body get used to that, and so after a while, they may decide, okay, I'm going to go in this stall. I'm not going to go any further down, and so therefore, if you switch it up and maybe say, like I said, some people, they'll eat something really off from what they normally eat, and a left field. And then when they come back to it, their regular little thing that they normally do, their regular regimen, guess what? That weight start coming off again, So yes, thank you for that. And it don't have to be that you go unhealthy. You still can eat something healthy, but do something different. Like Miss Paula is saying. That's so true, Paula. All right, Elle says, I'm in a weight lifting group for 12 weeks. And in 2 weeks, we will refeed, just like you said, to break the calorie deficit. But we still do high protein during that time. Awesome. Thank you, for Miss Elle, for, sharing that with us. I greatly appreciate it. That is awesome. So that will help me. Yes, I like that. Yep. That's T-Boo. All right. Thank you for that again. All right. Sunita says, I go back to my doctor's appointment. And she wants the record to show it. I know that's right. Sunita. Felicia said, that's awesome, L. Yes. Nicole says, I've lost 60 pounds in 6 months on my own and then maintained for 6 months. Then lost 91 pounds in 6 months. 76 pounds with GLP-1. And now being in maintenance for 6 months. Awesome, honey. Great stuff. Let me see what I got for you. Awesome. Testimony tonight. That's for you. All right. Joseph Shani says, great, Nicole. Right. That's awesome, Nicole. All right. Paula says, you are a super responder, Nicole. Congrats on 151 pounds and maintaining. Yes. Awesome. Great stuff. All right. Hey, at one time when I was, and I wouldn't consider myself a super responder, but I was a good responder. So in 2024, when I first started my weight loss journey on Mounjaro, I was losing over 2 pounds a week until I get to December. And then I kind of started slowing down with the weight loss when I got on that 7.5 milligram dose. I'm going to see if I can look real quick and tell you all. Let me see something real quick. Let me pull something up. Because I wrote down my information when it came to my weight loss journey. Let me see what this is. That's not it. Hold on. Okay. So like when I started Mounjaro, I started at 7:30, 2024, 15.8 pounds in the first month, 10.4 pounds the second month, 7.4 pounds the third, then 8 pounds the next, 6.2 pounds the next. Now that was in December of 2024, at the end of December. That was the average, my average for the month. All right. Then it started going down. So in January of 2025, weight loss was 3.8 pounds. Then February was 4.6 pounds. In March of 2025, it was 3.8 pounds lost. All right. In April of 2025, it was 9 pounds lost. In May of 2025, it was 1.8 pounds lost. June was 2.6 pounds lost. And then in July, it was 0.2 pounds lost. Now, I do remember that in December of 2025, I kind of I did that no scale month, and I think I gained some, but let me keep going. August, I gained 4.2 pounds. So in July of 2025, like I said, I lost the 0.2 pounds, right? Which is almost nothing, but it was great because I still lost 0.2. It was not zero, right? So like I said, you want to look at that positive side of it. But then in August, which is around the time where it was my year weight loss, I got to, the 76 pounds lost. And by the end of that month, it ended up being 73 pounds, I think, lost, or something around that amount. And then in August, July, I started doing my 7.5 milligram dose. I started doing it every other week because of my low sugars, okay? My hypoglycemic episodes. And that's what my doctor told me to do. Start doing that 7.5, the last two 7.5 milligram doses every other week. So then That was in August when I started there. I'm sorry, August, not July, in August. And so I gained 4.2 pounds in August. And then September, I don't have my weight. I forgot to put the weight loss in September again. But then in October, I gained 2.2 pounds. In November of 2025, I gained 4.2 pounds. Now, this is, like I said, the average. And then in December 2025, which is no scale, most of the month was no scale month, I gained 2.2 pounds. And then, like I said, this coming to recently, I was at 194, and my lowest, like I said, was 177. So hold on, let me see what that is. Just one moment. I'm doing my calculator. Just a moment. So my starting weight was 253. I went to 177, and that was 76 pounds. But then my lowest recorded weight the other day was 194. And so it went from the 76 to back to 59. So that's 17 pounds I gained from July, sometime in July, up until this week. Okay. Yes, I gained 17 pounds. So not too crazy of gaining, or whatever, gaining the weight, but it's still nonetheless gained weight. And I've been sitting in this 190 era, like I said, for a while now. Let me see when I went to 190. Pretty much almost since December, I think it was. I'm looking at my little scale. I mean, my little Fit Index weight app. Look at the trends real quick. So December 31st, that's when I went to 191.2. I did go down January 6th to 189. So I went back into 180s, right? I was 187 on the 8th of January, 189 on 110, 188 on 111. Then I went back to on January 12th this year. I went back to 190s, and I have been in the 190s ever since. Okay. Yep, in the 190s ever since. So that's where I'm at with it. So that can be discouraging, right? But like I said, I try to keep a smile on my face. I try to find positive things. I try to, tweak the things I need to tweak so that I will not feel down on myself, right? Especially because for me, I know why, this thing happened. I had to put that weight loss to the side and, think about my health first. And that's what was most important. That's why I started this journey initially, to get that A1C down, to better manage type 2 diabetes. And so therefore, when it came to the weight, I was loving it. Yes, I was. But at some point, I had to say, you know what? It's okay. First things first, I got to make sure that my diabetes is, better controlled. Not so much. And that's even after, I got the A1C down, because I started, like I said, having the hypoglycemic episodes, which are low sugars. And it wasn't all the time, but it was enough to where it made me feel a certain way. And I'm like, I got to figure this out. So, yes, that was most important. All right. So I took a hit in the weight loss area, and that's fine. Because what Felicia said is a lifelong journey, right? And that we will have to, we have to deal with it. What is it? I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember the saying, but we have to deal with it, and we have to push forward. Yes. All right. So Paula says, I'm a turtle, honey. I'm a turtle, but you have lost a good amount of weight, and I'm happy about that for you. I've stated before back in the day, even though you may be considered a turtle, you're losing weight slow throughout your journey. Um, when you get to the point where you're at maintenance, or you get to the point where you're so, 50, 60, 70 pounds down, you got to think about it. And like, look, I'm not where I want to be or where I ought to be, but I thank God that I'm not where I used to be. That's so important. That way you can think forward. That's that mindset, adaptation to know, hey, or the mindset shift to say, hey, I'm good either way. Um, as long as I reach my goal, that's all that matters. I've stated before, like when you're pregnant, for women that are pregnant, become pregnant. Of course, sometimes you get sick, while you're pregnant, you know, and you have all that morning sickness, sometimes morning, noon, and night. And guess what? By the end of that pregnancy, and you and that baby is put in your arms, whether it's by, vaginally delivered or C-section or, cesarean. When that baby comes in your arms, you don't even think about all that stuff that you were going through. You just think about how beautiful that baby is, thanking God for that baby, the baby is healthy, or, you just have your baby now. You can see your baby, you can bond with your baby. That's what you're thinking about. You think about the other stuff, the things you go through. If you do think about it, it's now a testimony, because you have success. You were successful, even though you may have gone through morning sickness. And oftentimes people go and do it all over again, even though you had these issues, when you were pregnant, because the reward is greater than what you had to go through. At the end, if you are successful, that's all that matters. Like I said, so turtle or no turtle, we're going to get there, whether you're going fast or you're that turtle, or what is it, hare, the turtle, the hare, no matter which one you are, you're going to get to that end, and that's all that matters, right? That's what we have to remember. Felicia says, Nicole, that is wonderful. Yes. All right. So, and Nicole says, thank you, Paula. All right. So Paula says, my goal is 85 pounds, just 6 more pounds to go. Awesome. Awesome. Yes, yes, yes. And you're trying to get that before what? Before May. Yep. Before that 2-year anniversary. And we're praying that you do, Paula. All right. So Nicole says, I busted my butt though, just saying. I know that's right. I know that's right. Yep. And what's that saying? Oh my gosh, let me see. It's the sayings that I forgot now I want to say, but I can't remember. I'm trying to see if I can remember how it says. But I can say this, Nicole, it was worth it, right? At the end of the day, it was worth it. All the fights, all that you've gone through, it is worth it. And it is well, right? Because you're in maintenance now. So I'm happy about that for you. And Paula says, so have I. Yes. All right. Felicia says, Paula, you will get there, honey, 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 honey. Yes, you will. All right. So Nicole says, walk 3.5 miles every morning, fasted 1 to 2 days a week, ate 90+% whole foods. I wasn't messing around. I know that's right. I know that's right. That is awesome, Nicole. Great stuff. All right. Nicole says, you're so close, Paula. You're almost there. Now, let me ask you this, Nicole. Before your better health journey, before you got on the medication, were you eating, whole foods at that time? Or did you, transfer to the whole foods once you got on, your GLP-1 journey? Hello, Kitty K. How you doing? Hope you're doing well tonight. So let's see. Let us know in the comments, Nicole. All right, Paula says, non-scale victory. are very important. Also, measurements. I've lost 47 inches. Yes, awesome. So I was saying that earlier. Sometimes just looking at the inches, knowing your inches, more than the scale. Sometimes, it's good because it's it's I've heard that it's better to, lessen your inches or, like get snatched, that you can lose that inches more than that weight itself. It's harder to put back on. It's easier to sustain the loss of inches. So awesome, Paula, for that. When the scale wasn't moving and I was doing all the things, the inches were coming off. Awesome. Thank you for that, Miss Paula, for allowing us to hear that testimony that you have. All right, so Candy K says, question, I'm using Zepbound. Is this your personal experience? These are personal experiences. Yes, you have to always make sure you talk to your doctor. But yes, these things, some of these are personal experiences. Some of the things I'm saying is things that I researched. Yes. Candy K, thanks for your question. And she says, thanks for sharing. All right. Miss Shiny says, no plateau, but definitely losing less the past month. So she lost the past month a little less than, she was losing the prior months. Lost 2+ pounds every week for 9 months. And then lost 94 pounds. And now 1 to 1.2 pounds weekly. I've feared having a plateau. Well, no fear, right? It may happen, it may not. We don't know. It's not that it happens to every single person on the earth, right? But because you've lost so much, sometimes our weight starts slowing down, right? And that's okay because you did. Look, you have lost 94 pounds. So beautiful. So even if you don't lose, for 2 weeks, right? And you be in a stall for 2 weeks, which I'm not, of course, hoping that you are, hopefully you can get to your maintenance and never have a stall or a plateau. But say if you do, 94 pounds, you have to look at that positive, that I was able to lose 94 pounds. Wow. So Paula says yes. So those non-scale victors, in other words, definitely helps you when that stall happens or the plateau happens. All right. Paula says, yes, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, Nicole. Yes, yes. All right. Sunita says it's normal because the body is saying, what's going on, honey? What's the problem? What are you doing to me? Exactly. Paula says, that's true, Sunita. All right. Sunita says, let me see. So Sunita says she was on a small stall. Then she moved up to 7.5 and lost the weight so fast. It's scaring her now. Okay. Yes. Now, y'all, let me see. Hold up. Hello, the boss way. And thank you for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Hope you're doing well, sweetheart. Yes, I understand that, Sunita. So listen. All right. So I told you I was on that 5, right? I had to go back down to that 5 milligram dose of Mounjaro because of, my sugar lows, right? And I don't care what I was doing to up those carbs, I still kept getting these lows. And I'm like, why am I going low? What is going on? Even with the 5, I was going low in the sugar. So that's why I was like, I may need to stop. I had a mindset of you need to be low carb, Kim, because of, that's what people with type 2 diabetes, they need to be, like kind of have a low carb regimen. And, which is what my research says. And so that's what I did. And it worked, right? It got me down to from that 15.1 to 5.6 and now to 5.3. But with, some issues with, having, low hypoglycemia. So, which is low sugars. So I was like, okay, Kim, you don't have to think like that anymore. You got to change that mindset again. Always tweaking. We have to tweak when we know something is not working for us. If it's not suiting us well anymore, we have to learn how to tweak it. And how do we do that? We do our research. We talk to our healthcare professionals and we do what we got to do to get the job done. without getting too scared, without being too fearful. I do know that's a human, emotion, to be afraid, you know, get in some anxiety and things of that nature. But we know that we serve a God that can help us through this, right? And so therefore we pray about it, and we find things that we can think about, those non-scale victories, and we find things that we can do so that we can take our mind off of what's not happening, and think more so on what's happening to us positively. Okay, that's again that mindset shift from diet culture to this is a lifelong thing, and we're going to do this thing, hopefully the right way this time, and not fixate on the scale so much. Even if you just on a weight loss journey, taking Zepbound, or a compound that tirzepatide, you know or even if you're on Mounjaro, because there are a lot of people on Mounjaro that's focusing on weight, because guess what? Mounjaro is going to do what it wants to do. It's going to do what it's supposed to do. That A1C is going to slow. It's going to come down. You know, um, I don't know of a person that's saying, "Oh, I was a say 10 and I stayed at a 10 on Mounjaro or on Zipic." That medicine is going to help you, you know, get that A1C back down. Now, how quick it gets down, that's a totally different story. You have to do some things for it to go down quick, and like I said, low carb more than likely is what you have to do. Now, how low is up to you, but you definitely have to alter those carbs. But y'all, I've said it, and it was like later in the evening, so I don't know if people heard it, but I did go back on the 7.5. Uh-oh. I did go back on that 7.5 dose in March. And I talked to my doctor about it, and that's because, like I said, I started, because of that 5 dose, I got inflammation so bad, and so inflammation does, make you gain weight, or you may not lose weight. And so with that being said, he's like, okay, that's not good to be having a lot of inflammation, that don't want to go away. So let's put you back up to the 7.5 milligram dose. So again, I have to be intentional with the carbs that I eat to make sure that I don't go, even lower, like I was doing when I was initially on 7.5. So yes, that's where I'm at now, 7.5. So I do understand. Now with my 7.5, I don't know if it's because I've been on it before and now I'm back on it. I'm still in the 190s. I seem like I'm not getting out of it again in a plateau. But I'm going to keep my head up, and I'm going to keep a smile on my face, and I'm going to live my sweet healthy life, and I'm going to figure something out. Yes. Even if it's having to go up to a 10 milligram. All right. So Sunita says, yes, the skinny pen. I heard that. Yes. Okay. So you heard that too. The skinny pen. Yeah. That's crazy. I get that now. Yes. All right. So Felicia says hello to Hajareen. Paula is saying that too. And she's speaking back. Everybody's speaking to Hajareen. All right. Thanks again, Hajareen, for the super chat, and thanks for coming in, sweetheart. Sunita said, the scale is not our friend. I try not to weigh myself. My nutritionist told me to stop looking at the number and focus on the weight. Try to just, do what you got to do for overall health, right? For overall health. That's important. So say if you have, metabolic dysfunction, okay? If that's the case, then you need to focus on not just a scale. You need to make sure you're eating properly. Like I said, getting the proper rest, getting the proper hydration, fueling your body like you're supposed to. That's important, right? If you have comorbidities like high blood pressure, diabetes, kidney disease, sleep apnea, heart, disease. If you're having those things, then you got to focus on that. That's more important really than even losing the weight. Yes, you want to lose the weight because that's a, component of better health, but that's just one component. We're trying to get healthy overall. That's what we should be. after so long. You may have started this thing as a weight loss journey, but it's about, becoming healthier in general, because you want to live long on the earth, and you want to live a bright, healthy life, right? You want to be able to move around, as much as you can, use those limbs. So, enjoy life to its fullest, right? So that's how you do that. You get your movement in. You don't want your body to get stiff by just sitting all the time. You want to be able to move around. And like I say, even if you don't want to be, of course, a bodybuilder. Some people are wanting to be a bodybuilder, but you may not want to be a bodybuilder. You may not want to be, in, what is it called? Powerlifting. You may not want to do that, and that's fine. But you can lift some weights, or you can, like I said, walk. You can do body exercises, body weight exercise. You can do something to keep that body moving, something to keep that body thriving. Okay. And when it comes to eating, better nutrition, your body craves the foods from the earth. It craves whole foods. Once you start eating better, your body will thank you for it. Once you start moving more, your body will thank you for it. Once you start hydrating properly, your body will thank you for it. It'll start feeling way better. We get to the point where we're so used to being stressed out. And it's like, oh, I'm not stressed. And you find out you really are. When you start doing something where you're taking care of yourself, self-care, self-love, losing the weight, and you're not so fixated on that scale, and then just, like you said, focusing on that weight in general, loving those non-scale victories, thinking, using, being positive about the journey, that right there, it makes you feel better. The cortisol goes, some of that cortisol goes away, and you notice, oh, wait a minute, I'm not stressing as much. Oh, wow. I feel better. It makes you smile. It brings a smile on your face. I think about people that say may have had anemia, okay? And they have gone so long being anemic, and then say they have to get a blood transfusion, okay, at some point in life. And when they get that blood transfusion, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize how much of a deficit I was in, that I needed that much blood. Now I feel better. I feel lighter. I can move. I've got more energy, And it's like, wow, that made a big difference. Because you had did it so long, being in a deficit so long, that you didn't even realize your body was hurting. Your body was screaming, help, 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 for so long. When I got on my journey to better health, I noticed start feeling better when I started walking, when I started eating better, choosing better foods. My body started feeling lighter, and my body started craving the better foods. When I started drinking more water, my body started craving more water, because that's what it needs. So yeah, think about it. All right. And then let's see. Pray for Miss Kim and everyone in the room. Thank you, Sunita. We're praying for you as well, for whatever they are dealing with. Lord, I ask that you watch over them, as well as Miss Sunita, as they go through their journey. Take any sickness away in the name of Jesus. I ask that. Amen, amen. Thank you for that, Miss Anita. And I say that prayer for you as well. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Bossway says, where 2 and 3 are gathered in the midst, agreeing, Jesus is in the midst. All right. Paula says, thank you and amen, Sunita. I have a steroid injection tomorrow. Please pray that I do well with that. You will, Paula. You will. In the name of Jesus. Brenda, how you doing, Miss Brenda? How you doing? Thanks for coming in. She says, happy Tuesday, Kim J and friends. And happy anniversary to you and your hubby, Miss Brenda. Once again, Sunita says, I pray that everything goes well for you, Paula. Yes, in Jesus' name. Everybody saying hi to Brenda, and thank you, Sunita. You got this, Kim J. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you so much, Bossway. Hey, the boss said it now, y'all. I know I'm gonna be good. Boss Way said it. I know I'm gonna be all right. Yes, yes. Paula says, yes, Kim J, you have got this and God has you. Thank you, Miss Paula. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen, Bossway says. All right, Nicole says, yes, Kim J, it was so worth it. Yes, yes, yes. So y'all keep your heads up if you're going through. Keep your heads up. Look into the hills that cometh with which cometh your help, because your help cometh from the Lord. Yes. When, like I said, when we're weak, he makes us strong by using his strength. Paula says, I'm sorry, Bossway says, Paula, I have 7 more pounds to go to meet my goal of 168. Awesome, awesome. You got this. So Paula, I think 8 pounds to go. Bossway, 7 pounds to go. I know that's right, y'all. I know that's right. Yes, yes, yes. Y'all give them some kudos for that. Y'all gonna get it. Y'all gonna get there. All right, Nicole says, I didn't start Whole Foods until I started GLP-1. Okay, there you go, y'all. So, hey, she decided to switch over. She's like she said, she wasn't playing. Nicole said she wasn't playing the radio, honey. She knew what she had in that medication. She knew what that medication can do for people. And she believed that she was going to do a great job. And she did. And she did. And she did. Yes, yes. And did. You go, girl. I know that's right, Nicole. So Felicia says, you're so close, Hajarine. Yes. And Miss Paula. And Miss Paula. Shani says, I'm just being honest. I have feared that. And I understand, honey. When I tell you, I told y'all about my fears, baby. I told you about the fears, right? That I have. Honey, let me tell you. Let me see. Hold on. Because I got this thing pulled up somewhere. Let me see if I can find it in one of these. Look, I got about 1 million things open at one time, Jesus. Let me see if I can find it. Talking about fears, honey. And I know this is kind of off the subject, but not off the subject at the same time. Common deep-seated fears often center on the need for social acceptance, worth, including fear of failure, rejection, and the need for approval, which can lead to self-sabotage, social anxiety, and perfectionism. These anxieties, often rooted in early life experiences or traumatic shame, can drive people to avoid risks, mask their true selves, or even fear positive acceptance. Key fears individuals carry include, and I'm talking about me, okay? Fear of failure and success. So I fear failure, definitely, because I don't want to fail, right? I don't want to fail. Just simple as that, And so sometimes I think about, the things I say. Sometimes our words jumble up, or when I try to read, sometimes I, muck up. That's the word, or what have you, and things that nature. So that can, cause fear. Again, knowing that I got my A1C down very fast, that was success. But where's that going to take me? Where am I going from there? And then not sharing some of that earlier on in my journey about, me having low glycemia. Low sugars, which is hypoglycemia. That felt like failure, right? It felt like a failure to me. And I was like, okay, these people may feel like, Kim, you're a failure. What are you talking about? You're doing so good, but blah, blah, fear of failure, fear of success. Sometimes when you think about success, just say on this channel. Again, I said, hey, I was fearful of talking on this camera, big fear. Even in real life, fear of, going higher in my professional life, because what if I say things wrong? What if I'm not perfect? Because I'm dealing with perfectionism. What if I don't do this right? What if it's, something wrong and it fails? Fears, right? Or what if it does? What if it is successful? and I get to the point where I'm at 1,000, then I'm at 5,000, I'm at 10,000, then I'm at 20,000 subscribers. Am I gonna be ready for that? Oh my gosh, fear of success. It's often rooted in fear of shame. People may avoid taking risks to prevent confirming feelings of worthlessness. Paradoxically, fear of success can also occur, fearing the pressure of change that success brings, right? Because say if I was to have 1,000, which I hope I'm getting to, I do want to get there, right? But say if I go from 1,000 to 5,000 in a month, am I ready? Like I said, for these 5,000 people, you know, that may show up. They potentially can show up. When I get to my 1,000, am I going to be able to, keep that 1,000 entertained, or be able to give the information that I need when it comes to my journey, as well as, like I said, I like researching. So I want to share things with you all that hopefully can help you at some point in life. Do I have what it takes? Things like that, fear of rejection and need of approval. Yeah. Driven by a desire of social inclusion. This fear causes people to become overly compliant, defensive, and anxious about social judgment, frequently leading to social anxiety. Okay. Then you have fear of judgment and embarrassment. The anxiety of appearing incompetent or foolish in front of others often stops people from expressing their true feelings or pursuing goals. I felt embarrassed that I had it going on when I got my hyperglycemia under control, and then I had these lows, and that's a little embarrassing to come on here and say, child, I was doing good, and now I'm back to doing like, what is going on with this low sugars? Yeah, fear of embarrassment, and then I thought I was gonna be judged, because some people, truth be told, do judge people. Truth be told. So, felt that. And you really don't know, I mean, I got my Sweet Life squad, my core people, here all the time. And I know it's a safe space. But then you may have somebody else that come in the chat randomly and they're like, girl, you don't know what you're doing, type deal. So fear of judgment and embarrassment. Fear of acceptance. Surprisingly, individuals with low self-esteem, fear of intimacy, or avoidant attachment styles may fear being accepted, fearing they won't live up to expectations or that the acceptance will be withdrawn. So I had to remember, like, listen, Kim J, you have to realize I ain't got to worry about all this stuff. Because guess what? As long as God is good with me, that's all that matters, really. Truth be told, that's all that matters. As long as I'm doing what he says for me to do, as long as I continue to press toward that mark, that's what matters. So that's why I said fear got to go 2026. Fear can't stay here. Fear can't live here anymore. It can't. Or guess what? Even though there's some fear still there, but guess what? I'm doing it afraid. I'm moving forward, forward thinking, just forward moving, right? So that's what, I have to do. I have to continue to remind myself, because the devil gonna try to, say, child boo, these people don't like you. Why you can't get to 1,000? What's wrong with you? All this other, what's taking you so long? You got people that have been here, longer. I mean, I'm sorry, shorter than you. And they already at 1,000. They already at 2,000. They already at 3,000. What's your problem? You ain't good enough. Things like that. Or why you got to keep telling us, oh, you was at 15.1, now you're at 5.3. Why you got to keep, or I took 15.1 to 5.6 in 5 months. Why you keep telling that story? Because it's a testimony. It's something to tell, because God is good, because he heard my cry. So I have to, talk to myself, encourage myself, And for you all, you can encourage me as well as hopefully I'm encouraging you. So yes, get rid of them fears, because guess what? We can't overcome it because we are overcomers. We're more than conquerors. Okay. So yes. So we have to challenge our core beliefs, confront the idea that one's worth rests entirely on approval of others. We want to overcome that. We need to overcome that. Okay. Shame reduction, addressing the fear that failure or rejection directly correlates to being unlovable. I gotta get rid of that shame, right? Building self acceptance, building self acceptance. So learning to accept oneself can diminish the need for external validation. I don't have to have validation from anybody, you know, I don't have to. And then gradual exposure, taking small risks, me getting on this platform, you know, to prove that failure or rejection is not catastrophic. Okay, so what? I made a mistake and, said the wrong word, you know, or I couldn't pronounce the word. So what? It's not the end of the world. It's not catastrophic. Keep it moving. Try to figure out the word if you want to, or move on. Because most people know what you're trying to say anyway. And also, like, Darren was saying earlier, I'm not perfect. Um, so I don't have to live in perfection. It's okay to make mistakes. This is my journey. So yeah. Hopefully this is helping somebody today. And the cited sources for this information that I'm sharing with you, or commonly cited resources for dealing with these type of fears that I'm talking about today, that I just named, um, the fear of failure and success, the fear of rejection and need of approval, the fear of acceptance, the fear of judgment and embarrassment, core universal fears, like I said, beyond social fears. You got humanity often shares core fears of abandonment, loss of purpose, loss of identity, and the unknown. Those things as well. Those are core universal fears. But the Albert Ellis Institute for overcoming the need of approval. That's what that uh, site stated about the need of approval, or not needing approval. The Cleveland Clinic for treating the fear of failure. Okay, Columbian College of Arts and Sciences for understanding the link between fear and social anxiety. And then the work of authors like Harper West on self acceptance. All right, those are the references of where I got that fear from. Okay, the information about fear. All right, so I get you, Shiny. Not saying that you're going through any of these things, but I'm just saying, I understand when it comes to fears. But I do try to speak positive and say all the things I know I'm supposed to say to myself. Yes, yes, yes. And I often think of, Philippians 4, chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. And y'all know I'm finna read it to y'all. And I don't mind jumping on here and reading stuff, looking stuff up. That's why I'm like curious with Kim. I don't mind pulling that stuff up right here, right now, so we can know what it says. But Philippians 4, 6 through 8, and that's in the NIV version, the New International Version. It instructs believers to replace anxiety with prayer, petition, and thanksgiving, promising that God's peace will guard their hearts and minds. It encourages focusing thoughts on what is true, what is noble, what is right, what is pure, lovely, and admirable. Okay? And those things help you combat anxiety. I don't know if you heard the Bible verse, be anxious for nothing. That's in, the King James Version, be careful for nothing, is how it reads. But yes, you want to replace that worry with prayer, and that helps you. Um, and Shani is a minister, so I know she knows this stuff, and that's why she says she tries to make sure she, not only talks about it, at church, but she try to be about it, right? But even with ministers, you know, people of the cloth, they call, some ministers or preachers, they still have to remind themselves of these same things. I'm often reminded of, you know, the devil like comes after people that are preachers or people that are witnesses of the faith for God. He come after them more. He come after us more because he don't want other people to be saved. He don't want other people to believe in God. He wants to debunk, the belief that we have in God. So yes, he brings about anxiety. He brings about, things, negative talk and things of that nature. Things that, try to put things in your mind so that you won't, think of those things that are true and noble and right and lovely and admirable and noble, pure, and all that stuff that God told us to think about. And then you have the power of prayer. It suggests that in every situation, by prayer and supplication or petition, with Thanksgiving, requests should be made known to God. We should be praying to God about, our anxieties, the things that we have. Understand that He is our help. The Lord is our help. Okay. Psalms 121. And then the promises of peace. The result of this prayerful approach is the peace of God, which transition, which transcends understanding, guarding hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Let me read that again. The promise of peace. The result of this prayerful approach is the peace of God, which transcends understanding, guarding hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And then you have right thinking. Verse 8 of Psalms 4, 4th chapter, advises focusing the mind on positive, virtuous, and worthy things, whether it's true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable. Admirable. All right. So we have to trust in what God word says, in the prayer that we, petition up to God. And so that when we do feel anxious and we take action upon those anxious thoughts, then realize that God hears you and God will handle it for you. You just have to be patient and know that God is going to be God. And He's working in the back, behind the scenes to make sure that, you still get where you're supposed to be, wherever your destination is, whatever His will is, let His will be done for you in your life. And then also contentment. You want to make sure that the peace mentioned is tranquil, that is, that you have a tranquil state, in a state of tranquility. Guarding believers, regardless, you have to, you need to be a believer though. You want to believe, regardless of external circumstances that we face. Like we said, life is life, but we want to be content in whatever is going on because we know that we have a God that we serve that can handle anything that we're up against. He can make sure that we are good to go, that we are going to be conquer, the adversities that come our way. And then application, not just reading the word, not just hearing the word, but also doing His word. Okay. And even when it's weight loss, doing the things that we need to do. Okay. It says the passage encourages turning anxieties into specific requests to God. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Hajareen, so happy for you, Nicole says. Thank you, Nicole. Shani says, I moved up to 7.5 and it slowed me down. I can't eat as much, so I don't think I'm getting enough calories. I lost more on the 5. Okay. And guess what, Shani? You tried it, the 7.5, because you maybe thought that it was going to help you. And, you're like, okay, well, I'm not losing as much. So then, you have to think about, do I need to go back down to the 5 or do I stay on the 7.5 and try to find other ways to get more calories in? And so when we talked on behind the scenes yesterday, you mentioned you're trying to up your calories. Not, you didn't say that you were going back to the 5 milligram dose, but you're upping your calories and lessening your window of because you were doing intermittent fasting and you had a greater window. I think yours was 18:6, I think, at some point. And so you're lessening that window. You're eating a little bit, earlier in the day so you can get more calories in. So that's tweaking, and so hopefully that will help you in your weight loss effort and that you can get to your goal. And hopefully, if that doesn't work, you have some other suggestions in the chat today. Beautiful people, Sweet Life Squad members, was able to share with you, and maybe some of these things can help you, as well. That's why I love us. I love Sweet Life Squad, the Sweet Life Squad, because, we always are here to give, encouragement to each other, to cheer each other on, cry with one another when we cry, feel the empathy that we have for one another, love on one another, and I thank you all for that. I greatly appreciate you all, and count my blessings that you are here with me. I see you, I hear you, and I notice that you're here. Thank you so much, Sweet Life Squad. Thank you, everyone in this chat. I greatly appreciate it. And I know that even when you're not here, you're thinking about Kim J. Yes. And the other part of the Sweet Life Squad. Yes. Paula said, thank you, Hajareen. Paula says, can you move back to the 5, Shiny? Felicia says, I understand Shiny saying with me on 10 milligrams, and especially with the amount of exercise you do, you got to get all those calories in, sweetheart. Yes, because you're expending energy, when you're when you're exercising, when you're moving, especially when you're lifting weights, and when you're lifting heavy, most definitely need to get those carbs in. Sometimes, like I said, we have to go back up to like maybe 500, 250 to 500 calories less than our maintenance. Sometimes we have to go back to our maintenance, and then then maybe dwindle back down after so long. Just depends. You have to, like I said, talk to your dietitian or a personal trainer or your doctor, and he or she can help you with whatever needs to be had for your own personal journey. Shani says, my doctor sent in prescription for 5 milligrams to start in 2 months if the 7.5 don't level out. My doctor sent in prescription for 5 milligrams to start in 2 months if the 7.5 doesn't level out. Thank you so much for sharing that, Shiny. I hope it all works out for you, and I know it will. I know it will. Yes, yes, yes. Paula says, praying for you, Shiny, as well as I. Felicia says, inflammation made me gain 5 pounds one time. Scared me at first, but I know what it is now. Awesome. So you're learning your body, Felicia, just like we all are. Hopefully we are. And, like I said, tweaking the things that we need to tweak. Again, for me, the inflammation came back crazy, right? Crazy. With the vengeance when I went back down to my 5 milligram dose. So that's something too, Shani, you have to think about and talk to your doctors about, just in case. And I know you're a nurse too, not only, a minister, but you're a nurse as well. So, you have to think about that as well. Maybe, if you go back down to the 5, is it going to cause inflammation? And so you may have to wind up, if you decide to go down, you may have to go back up again at some point. If you do that, you may not experience that at all. Everybody don't experience it, but it's something that, good that we're sharing, because that's something you may want to think about as well, and talk to your doctor so that you hopefully, if you do go back down that 5 milligram dose of Zepbound, that you won't have that problem. Wonderful, Shiny. Thank you, Paula. Shani says, Paula says, that is crazy, Felicia. I gain when I go to Arkansas to visit family. Yep. Bossway says, medicine kicking in. You ladies and gentlemen have a great night. I love you all. I love you, Bossway, and good night to you. Grant says, hello to all. Hello, Grant. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. All right. Paula says, it's all the sodium in the food. Yep, that'll do it too. Yes. Which I, read earlier. and talked about earlier. Yes. Paul said, good night, Hajareen. Shani says, I definitely need to stop stressing about it. Yes, because again, like we said earlier, Shani, and you already know that, cortisol, stress, and the cortisol of it all, it can make you stall, and you don't want to do that. You could be well off on your journey, continuously moving down, and then the cortisol increase because of fears, and that can counteract too. It may not even be your dose increase or decrease or whatever. It could just be cortisol, added anxieties, because you hear, some other people may have gone through these things. What you say? Eat the fish, spit out the bones. Yes, yes. Nicole says, that's so true, Kim J. I crave steak plus veggies now. Exactly. Craving, better things, better nutrition, because we started eating better, right? And myself too, Nicole. I'm not saying I'm eating all whole foods. I'm not, but I eat a lot of whole foods. And even with whole foods, sometimes it's hard to get up them that maintenance calories, when it comes to whole foods. So then you have to look at that fat, kind of add some fat with it, and that kind of helps, get your calories in like you need it. Felicia says, G money. Sorry to be late, but I had church board meeting tonight. I'm so thankful for my body starting to show recomp. I know that's right, Grant. Yes, yes, yes. I have some exercise videos I'm going to share out as well. Probably next week. Between this end of this week and next week, I'll show, a couple things. All right, Sunita says, tone it up at the gym. I know that's right. Yes. Eating more protein and collagen. It's diabolical, honey. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Everybody's talking to G Money. That's Mr. Grant. Grant says, doing good. Finally rested up from the busy day yesterday. How are you all? At the gym, getting those steps in, Paula said. I know that's right, Paula. Shani says, G Money, I'm good. Preparing for my little vacay. Yes. She going to Disneyland, y'all. She going to be in Disneyland sometime soon. Grant says, oh, yeah, Disney. Woo-hoo. Elle's giving hearts. Thank you, Elle, for that. Paula says, amen, no judgment here. You can share your journey, but never compare your journey. That's what simply Taisha said. I know that's right. Darium said it too. So many of us have said that, right? So many of us. But you know what? I say on top of that, we say it, but are we living it? Are we applying it? A lot of times, sometimes it's hard, because we're human. Like I said, we're human. I don't know why I'm jumping like that. Why am I jumping, Lord? We're human. We're human, y'all. So sometimes we will compare. But then I also think about comparison. Sometimes it's okay to compare. Let me pull that back up, because I talked about that the one day too, when it comes to comparison. But I want to see, because I don't know if somebody, here heard it, or somebody in the bushes, or in the replay. Comparison is a natural human tendency that can either foster personal growth or destroy happiness, depending on its purpose and focus. It is considered healthy when it inspires and provides a roadmap for improvement, and unhealthy when it leads to feelings of inadequacy, shame, or despair. Okay, so when comparison is okay, healthy comparison for motivation, for learning, for self-assessment, or for inspiration, that's when it's okay to compare. That's healthy comparison. But when is it not okay? Upward comparison, compare yourself to those who perceive as better. Comparing yourself to those you perceive as better, which often leads to a feeling of inadequacy and low self-esteem. Downward comparison, compare yourself to those you perceive as worse to make yourself feel better, which can feed insecurities. Sound a little bit like pride too. I don't know. Just saying. Or boastfulness. When it's unfair, That's another not okay way to, of comparison. Compare your behind the scenes or failures to others. Highlight reels. Okay, on social media they talk about um when it breaks joy, when it steals your appreciation for your own achievements or journey. That's not good. Comparison is not good at that, doing that. And then when it causes shame, when it leaves you feeling that you are not enough or fundamentally flawed. You don't want to feel that way. You don't want it to make you feel down on yourself. That's when that comparison is that thief of joy. Okay? That's when it's not good to compare. But if you're looking at somebody, you may look up to someone and say, "Oh, she's doing good on her journey." And so there may be some things I can get from her that can help me. But I'm going to talk to my doctor about it and make sure it's okay if I need to. Some things we kind of just know what's good. But say, for instance, Nicole said, "Oh, I eat whole foods. When I started my GLP-1 journey." Now, that might have been hard for her back then, before the journey. When she started GLP-1, she adopted whole foods. Some kind of way she decided to do that for whatever reason. It could have been she saw somebody else that was doing it. She could have just known that whole foods, from somebody teaching her a long time ago, that whole foods is better. She could have seen somebody else's journey and saw them doing whole foods and it was helping them. So she decided to jump on the bandwagon. That's a healthy comparison. Okay, I'm not eating as good, but you know what? Let me try this whole food thing because I have seen people, eat whole foods and that helped them. Better nutrition helped them. So that's what I'm gonna do, And I'm not eating good food, and I'm not saying that's what she's doing. She did, but I'm just saying that's just a scenario. And so that's a healthy comparison. And so she chose to do whole foods. Now again, I don't know if this is Nicole's story. I'm just, saying that because I know she decided to do whole foods, which is a good thing to most people, if not all. Now, say if she said, or say if you got another person that, not Nicole, I'm just say somebody else that may be eating a lot of ultra processed foods, but it's helping them lose weight nonetheless. Or they got on a traditional diet, say keto, say and not the Mediterranean diet. Okay, I'm doing keto diet, and people say, "Oh my goodness, keto, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable." And so then you keep hearing people say, "Oh, Mediterranean, Mediterranean, Mediterranean," and then you down on yourself because you decided to do keto. That's unhealthy, because that might help you. It may, help you. Mediterranean might help you. Or say you're looking at somebody's weight loss, they lost 100 pounds and you're only at 30 pounds. And now you're like, "Oh my gosh, they're doing so much better than me. Why this? Why that?" And now you're getting down on yourself. You're feeling bad about yourself. That's when it's unhealthy for you. Okay. That's when it's a problem. So you got to recognize the trigger, how to shift from unhealthy to healthy comparison. Recognize the triggers. Be aware of when you are comparing, particularly on social media, especially on social media. Focus on your path. Recognize that everyone is on a unique journey with different starting points and obstacles. Okay. We have different environments. Our weight was different. Our health may have been different. Just because say me and, say Felicia, we started at 253, which we did not. We both did not, but I'm just saying, as a scenario, we may have started at 253, but she may lose faster than me for different reasons, so that's if I sit here and be like, "Oh my gosh, Felicia lost 100 and I'm still at 30," that's unhealthy comparison. So you got to recognize the trigger that may think you, "Oh my gosh, now I'm feeling bad. I'm doing all this crazy stuff because I want to lose more, just like Felicia." No, that's not good. Focus on your path. Not if it's unhealthy. Not if you're going to do unhealthy things. Focus on your path. Recognize that everyone is on a unique journey with different starting points and obstacles. All right, practice Gratitude. Focus on your own strength and your own accomplishments. Have gratitude. An attitude of gratitude. Yes. An attitude. And not just Thanksgiving time, throughout the whole 12 months of the year. Attitude of gratitude. And then practice self-compassion. Giving yourself some grace. Being compassionate for you and for others. You and others. Acknowledging that you do not need to be perfect. Note to self. You do not need to be perfect, Kim J. Hello, G's. How you doing? Thanks for coming in. Because it's incredible, Kim J. Yes, honey. Yes, yes, Nicole. That's right, Nicole. Everybody saying hi to G's. Grant says, keep it moving. Preach it, Kim J. Brenda says, hi, everyone. If I missed anyone, I apologize. I had to step away, and that's okay. All right. Hello, Positive T. Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. Greatly appreciate it. We need to get together, Positive T, for the next Sugar Talks, if you're still available, the end of the month. Paula says, hello, T. Did you get my message, honey? Everybody saying hello to T and Grant. Shani says, yeah, I get it. I'm not going through that. Maybe I used the wrong word. It's not affecting like that. I have been concerned about it, but not that deep. I get you, honey. I mean, like I said, because you stated the fear, it made me like kind of go into, like I said, just in general, because even though you may not be going through it, somebody else may come, over and is going through it. Sometimes I segue into not just talking to you personally, but just, in general, because I know, like I said, I deal with fears. I'm still dealing with them. Again, I said I'm going to get through them. I'm pushing through them this year. Yes, ma'am. And hopefully I'll be done with them before the end of this year's out. Right. But, just in case you are, I don't know what you're doing, you're dealing with every day, behind closed doors. So I hope, like I said, whatever I stated, if there's anything that encourages you, I'm happy about that. God, to God be the glory. But, also, I know somebody's going to come here that may be needing this conversation, for whatever reason. It might not be weight loss. It could be anything we're going through, anything that we're going through, or like I said, hopefully they'll remember what we've stated here, the encouragement we provided, spiritually as well as, physically or naturally. And then, it's going to help. Hello, Ruth. How you doing? Thanks for coming in. Like that picture. Brenda says, hello to everyone. These different people. Same thing with G's. Let's see here. Everybody just saying hi to one another that have come into the chat. Hope I ain't missing nobody. Going faster. Shani says, definitely. I had my fair share of anxiety in the past. Exactly. So that's why I say, what I'm talking about. You know. Grant says, that's right. The harder we fight for God, the harder Satan fights us, right? We're the armor of God, the whole armor of God. I know that's right. The harder we fight for God, the harder Satan fights. Right? Us, to try to get us to, derail us from what we know, that the Bible states. So we got to put on the whole armor of God. All right. Peace that surpasses all understanding. Exactly. He will give you that peace. The perfect peace. Yes. Paula says, this sure is speaking to me. Anxiety of a needle tomorrow. Going to review those scriptures. Awesome. Awesome. Yes. And even that peace that surpasses all understanding, honey. Let me see. Because he can't give that to you. Yes, Miss Paula. Philippians 4:7. The peace that surpasses all understanding. Amen, Grant Paula says. Ellie is putting those hearts in the chat. Sunita says, yes, honey. It's going to do what it's going to do. Correct, Sunita. Yes, that Mounjaro is going to do its thing. Ozempic is going to do its thing. Yes. But the more we do, the better off we will be. Right? We don't want to just do its thing. We want to make sure we're doing all the things too. 194 as of today. All right, Sunita. Yes, yes, yes. All right, all right. Great stuff. Nicole says, Kim J, it was YouTube. Once I started researching GLP-1s, I know that's right. Finding that community, honey. Finding the community. And I'm happy that we have a wonderful community where we can find wonderful information. Like I said, eat the meat, spit out the bones. Everything is not for everybody, but the things that we're sharing is for somebody. It's for somebody, even if it's just us. Like I said, I encourage myself and hoping to encourage someone that's coming, in this chat or in the bushes or, on the replay. You never know. You never know how far these messages that we're sharing, whether you're a content creator or in the chats, how far a reach it is, and it's going to help somebody. It could be cross country. Never have ever hit the subscribe button, but saw this through the algorithm, this message, and have been blessed. May not ever say nothing about it, So when we do this thing, when we share in the chat, which is why I love the lives, when we share in the chat our, pieces of our journey, doses of our life, traces of our lives, it helps somebody. And I hope it helps more than one person, but even if it just helps one person, we've done our jobs. We've done our jobs to come, to help, and God honors that for us. All right. Hello, Sunshine. How you doing, Sunshine, today? How are you doing, sweetheart? Thanks for coming in. She's sharing some love. All right. Nicole says, once I knew I was going to stop a GLP-1, once I knew I was going to start a GLP-1, I wanted to learn everything I could about it. I have a habit of going down rabbit holes. I get you. I understand. Yes, yes, yes. But hello, Miss Nikki. How you doing? But Nicole, I'm happy you were able to find this GLP-1 community as a whole. I'm happy you were able to find it. I stated before, one of the discharge, nurses told me, find a community, because I'm going to be here. Well, not her per se, but because she's a nurse in the hospital. But, we have a healthcare team, but it's nothing like having a community that you can, get to know and, bounce stories off of, bounce, ideas off of. And like I said, you still want to make sure what we're saying is going to best serve you. You don't have to try everything that we're doing or we're saying, right? But if it's something that piques your interest that may help you, go ask your doctor about it. I've gone to my doctors and said, hey, I heard, one of my people in my GLP-1 community, I'd be excited, so in my GLP-1 community told me this, or told the chat this. What do you think? Do you think that'll help me? And just excited to tell them, what we've learned here. And sometimes they say, oh yeah, that'll be good for you. Up your fiber. Yes. Not quite what they're doing, but let's start here and see how it goes. And it has helped me. That's one of the things I found out about upping my fiber, strength training. How I knew about strength training, but I wasn't thinking strength training. I just know they said, hey, exercise 150 minutes a week. Nobody told me I needed strength training when I get on this GLP-1 medication. They didn't tell me that and how important strength training was. Nobody told me that. Some people did get told that by their doctors. They didn't tell me that. My doctor, my dietitian, nobody told me that. I learned that from some people in this, in this community. That strength training is so important. I didn't realize, I was going to lose muscle, or whatever, because I'm losing fast. Or that I'm losing it all. I didn't realize that. I heard people in the community talking about it. I didn't understand that BMI wasn't that, we shouldn't that wasn't a say it all, be all. I didn't understand that, I just heard them talk about you need to be a certain BMI. We're learning that though. We're learning that, and even the powers of be now saying we trying to get away from that, I didn't know about, oh, let's look at the non-scale victories. That's just as important or even more important than the weight loss. I wasn't thinking like that. Not I knew that, but I wasn't like, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, non-scale victories, non-scale victories, non-scale victories, like we say. It makes us more excited about the whole journey, you know? So yeah, I thank God for this community. And we may not all know one another. We may not be in everybody's chat, whatever. But I think I can say that we're all rooting for one another. We want success for one another. Grant says, that's exactly what brought me to YouTube as well, Nicole. See? All right. Hello, Mia. How you doing? Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. Hope you're doing well. Sorry, I've been preoccupied with serious storms coming. Oh my God, more storms? Jeez. Indiana, Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio. It's a significant system. So we need to pray, y'all, for these states. And we need to just pray for America in general, in the world. In the world. Yes, yes, yes. Hello, low carb queen. Hello, Auntie Queen. Auntie Queen. Look, what I call her? Auntie Queen, Queen T, all kinds of stuff. Yes. Hello, hello. How you doing? Thanks for being in the bushes. Thanks for coming in to say hello. Greatly appreciate it. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Everybody just saying hi to one another. All right. Yes, these talks have always been so very helpful to me. Thank you, Mia. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Miss Mia. All right. Mia says, hi, Felicia. I was just packing you some stuff, honey, for a little care package for my better together sister. I know that's right. Thank you. Thank you for taking care of our sister. Mia, greatly appreciate it. Oh, Mia. Sunshine today says there's always a lesson in the journey. Right. Exactly, Sunshine. Doesn't matter if it takes 6 months or a year or 2 years or a lifetime, right? There's always a reason, and we have to have faith and trust. Everything happens for a reason. I know that's right. Thank you. Look at her coming over here. Look, coming on in this chat and giving all these nuggets. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sunshine. I greatly appreciate it. Yes, yes, yes. Felicia said, hey, Day. Hugs Queen. Sunshine says. Mia says, I saw my foot doctor yesterday. He said I have to wait 1 more month before he shoots my foot with steroids on the bottom. He said it's very painful. I can believe that. When I was reading steroids shoots my foot with steroids at the bottom, yeah, that sounds painful. In my head, I'm like, ouch. Yeah. He said it's very painful and he wants to try a while longer to break them down. Yes, to break the foot the layers of the foot down so it won't be tough. I'm assuming. All right. Sunshine says the whole journey is about truly connecting and developing a better relationship with ourselves and making sure we are on the priority list. Honey, when I say first on that list, first on that list, you hear me? Because when we serve ourselves best, then we can better serve others. Yes, yes, yes. And it's okay to be a little selfish sometimes when it comes to our health. We have to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. Like we say on the plane, you got to put your own mask on first, and then you can help your loved ones and other people around you. I mean, if I try to help everybody else first, then I may not be able to get to everybody else. I may not be able to get as many people as I can get to. If I put that thing on first, I may be able to help even more people. Right? Yes. That's right, Sunshine, Grant says. Jen says, hey, Sunshine. She's been in the bushes at work. Miss T says, Mia, is a storm coming to your area? I just left Columbus, Ohio. Well, I'm happy you got away from that, honey. Thank God for that. Yes. And Jen says, "Hey Nicole." Hey Jen, Nicole says. All right, y'all. So I'm hoping that what was said today was very helpful to someone that may be in a stall or a plateau even, or just not losing weight for whatever reason, not losing as much as they, want to. Hopefully, you got something from tonight, on what I'll talk about. Like I said, some of the stuff that I talk about is my personal journey. Some things that I talk about is the, things that I learned through research. Curious with Kim comes out quite often because I want to make sure that when I tell you stuff that I'm getting it from reputable sources. I don't want to just be yapping, and not knowing what I'm talking about or whatever, or miss, speaking or what have you. I try not to misspeak anyway. So yes, we want to make sure that we, doing everything that we can, to continue to push forward in our journey and realizing, that it is a journey and it's lifelong. It's lifelong. We're not trying to do like we did back in the day, and like we were when we were on just a diet, and after the diet, then we start eating, go back to what we were doing before, the habits we had before. Right now, we want to make sure that we're consistent, building consistent habits. Consistency is key to build habits so that we can build disciplines so that we can, have, successful results, successful results. That's what we're trying to do now. Okay. That's what we're trying to do now. And lifelong results. The results. Why I'm saying resorts. It's time to go on a vacation. Results, I meant. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So, all right. If all hearts and minds are clear, I am going to get up out of here tonight. Thank you for coming in. I greatly appreciate you again. Um, Mia says TT was close to both of us this past couple of days ago. Oh, okay, cool. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So if all hearts and minds are clear, and my internet acting up. So if all hearts and minds are clear, I will talk to y'all definitely next Tuesday. I'll see you all somewhere in these YouTube streets, if the Lord's will is to be there. And yeah, y'all have a wonderful week. Peace. Thank you, thank you, thank you.